Hey guys, today we have the one and only Chevrolet Colorado ZR2 Bison. So, for $60K, do you truly get an off-roader or is it just another mall crawler? We're gonna get into it right now. So, in 2023, Chevy released an all-new redesigned Colorado with updated interior and updated powertrains. And pricing for a regular Colorado starts around $30,000, but there's a couple different trim options that you can get, quite a few actually, and they go all the way up to the ZR2 package, which starts around $48,000, but then if you want to go even higher, you can get the Bison package on your ZR2 for an additional $12,000, making this truck $60,000, which is wild. But just look at it. Look how aggressive and mean and super cool it looks compared to a base Colorado. So first, we're gonna start on the front end of this ZR2 Bison here. And I mean, just look at the aggressiveness. It is super cute. I really, really love the design of this thing. And I absolutely love all of the black accents with the little red here and there, telling everyone that you have a ZR2, one of the highest trims of the Colorado. First, we have our black kind of hood scoopy thing right there in the middle of the hood, which looks nice and it breaks up all of this here. And if we move on down, we have our Chevy badge, right? Encased in this little red trim there. And it's actually open. You can like stick your whole hand in there. So it's like a functioning kind of air vent in a way. And then right here, we have our front facing camera and like 360 cam kind of view camera right there. And all of this right here is actually open and functioning as well for the motor, which is right here in the front, of course. And if we move on down, this is what you get with the Bison. So there's a whole bunch, and it may or may not be worth $12K. We're gonna go over all of that. But we get the AEV kind of like front, rear, skid plates, like fender flare, bumper, you know, updated, more rugged type of deal. And AEV stands for American Expedition Vehicles. So I guess it's like a brand that kind of like puts their ruggedness on certain kind of cars and trucks and trims and things like that to make them a little more off-roady. So we're gonna go through all of the things that the Bison has to offer. But like I said, altogether, super, super nice. We do only have halogen headlights in here though. I think Chevy could have made it super, super sick and just did like a cool little, I don't know, some kind of liney design and made it look really updated. But we do have our regular headlights. And I mean, just look at it. It's super cool. I really like this truck and I can even see myself driving it. And as we move on down the side of the Colorado here, I really love that black Colorado. It pulls all of this black together along the side. These are the fender flares that I was talking about with that same AEV material. And if we look right under that, we have 35-inch tires from the factory. They are huge and they're 17-inch B-lock capable. So I'll get to that in just a second when we hop into the interior for something super cool about these tires. And with the Bison package, you get a 3-inch lift from the factory, making this the ultimate off-roader. You get high performance suspension and you get jounce controlled dampers so that it's easier not to bottom out when you're going on the trails. And it also helps with like impact absorption and things like that. So that's super neat. And something you also get from the factory is locking front and rear differentials. So yes, this is the ultimate off-road truck, especially coming from the factory with all of these options. We keep coming down. We have blacked out mirrors here. Once again, pulling all the black together, especially with these door handles. I really like that. And down the side, we have some nice metal rock sliders instead of like a step that comes down or anything like that. because this is rugged and off-roady. If we keep coming down, then we have our humongous gas cap here. It is like actually very big. And we have another one of those fenders right back here. And then past that, we have the ZR2 Bison logo at the very end. Before this video gets going, I need you to go check out me on my socials. I love checking out cars on the side, but I post all of my best content in the link below. Plus, you'll get to see my review of this awesome C8 Z06. Now onto the rear truck bed area back here. Like I mentioned earlier, you do have your bumper that is also that AEV material, and it surely says AEV everywhere. Like, they really want you to know that you have some quality stuff. They even put a badge on this truck bed back here. But this thing, Chevy says, can tow up to 7,700 pounds, and I feel like that is a lot for a mid-sized truck. We'll get into that, okay? You do have a couple hooks back here. We have our trailer lights and plug-ins right there next to the license plate. We have a couple small lights right there on that step bumper part. And you get your tow hitch thing already installed from factory. I mean, overall, the aesthetic I think looks really good and rugged. I like this kind of like bumpy material on the tailgate area. Like, it looks nice. It's different than just like a flat plastic. It really gives it some texture and like breaks up everything back here. And just a couple things to note by the tailgate itself. We do have halogen taillights as well. Like I mentioned in the front, I feel like Chevy could have made something really cool and just did like this little outline or something cool with this truck, because it is quite expensive, and I think it would just fit the overall aesthetic a lot better than those plain taillights back there. But then we have our huge indented Chevrolet name into your truck bed there, and under we have our Colorado and AEV badge, like I mentioned before. And if we get up to this handle here, you have another little camera back here, which is actually cute. It's nicely placed. Like, you don't really think of cameras being all the way up here. You think of them down here somewhere, but that's a nice little integration. And over here you have a keyhole for when you just want to unlock your truck bed or whatever. But let's jump into here. So you just lift it down. It's actually pretty slow. I didn't expect it to be that slow. And at first glance, there is actually a lot going on right here on this tailgate. You have this cool little mountainy, ridgy kind of design that's just a little Easter egg here. And if we go right above that, we have a ruler that goes all the way to 48 inches, almost as tall as me, as your truck bed tailgate thing. And then we have our little cup spots on each side of the tailgate here. And this truck does come from the factory with a composite truck bed, so you don't have to go get it all like rock linered or anything like that when you get this straight from Chevy. So let's hop in here and show you a couple extra things. Something really cool about this tailgate that you don't see too often is this is actually storage underneath here. That's super cool. Like, I don't know what you could put in there, maybe some tools or something like that. But there's this little piece right here in the middle that's like kind of gold and sticking out, and I have no idea what that's for. I don't know if it's an accessory or something like that. So if you guys could let me know in the comments what that's for, if you know, that would be cool. And if you put it back down, then there's these little latch kind of things right here on the front of the truck bed, and you can just lock it back into place and it will stay for you there. But if we get into what, God, that's so loud. But if we get into what this truck bed has to offer, we have a whole bunch of little hook tie down areas all over the sides of the bed. Right here on this left side of me is a 120 volt kind of house plug if you want to plug in some tools or something big like that. And guys, this is only like a 5-foot truck bed. It is not a full-size truck of any caliber because this still is a Colorado at heart. So when you have your rear-mounted tire back here that you also get with the Bison package, it takes up a good at least foot of this front end rear space here. So that kind of sucks. Even though it looks super cool and off-roady, I feel like Chevy could have like made a cool mount on the tailgate or something, put it on the roof, or even like most trucks do, put it under the truck bed. There is literally mounting points for it there. I feel like it could have just saved some space because that's usually what truck owners do, is use their truck for things. And I feel like it kind of hinders that. But overall, I mean, it is still very spacious and still can do truck things. I fit back here very well, obviously, as long as me being 5'2", that's like exactly the length of this truck bed. And I mean, this composite liner feels good. Like it's not like too rough like some rock liners are, but yeah, this is the bed of your Chevy Colorado ZR2 Bison. And thanks so much to Autonation Chevrolet of South Clearwater for letting me do the review of this awesome ZR2 Bison here. They have an amazing selection of new and pre-owned inventory, so make sure to check them out. Now to get into the engine specs here, first we gotta open up this hood. There's a little latch on the inside of the truck right here, and you just pull that towards you, and then it pops open your hood right here. And there is a latch right here as well. And you just push that to the right, and you gotta lift up your really heavy hood. This is like super heavy, and you don't have power struts. You gotta like put that whole thing up and hold up this entire hood. Why does it not hold up itself? Oh my goodness. But now getting into the engine specs here. This is Chevy's Duramax engine, and it is the same engine that comes in all the Colorado trims. You just literally pay for different exterior options within this lineup here. So this motor is a 2.7 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder, making 310 horsepower and going 0 to 60 in about 7 seconds. It is also an 8-speed automatic and will get you about 16 miles per gallon. Now, if I just look at the overall aesthetics of this engine bay here, I feel like they could have done more. Once again, they could have stuck ZR2 across it, but it is just plain black plastic. They could have at least put a Chevy logo or something like that, but it is just plain up here, not much to see. And if we just look up there in that right-hand corner where your coolant goes, it literally just looks like a bobber or something, like off a fishing pole. Like it's just so funny and just huge in there. So overall, not much to see. Once again, I wish this held itself up like most new vehicles do, but no. You gotta use that the old-fashioned way. Before we hop into this interior, here is your ZR2 Bison key. And it's just a regular kind of Chevy key, very lightweight. It has this cool little material right here on the front though. But if we flip it over, we just have a couple simple functions. A lock, an unlock, a little panic button here in red because you're panicking. And then we have remote start. But other than that, very basic. It's okay. Now, let's hop in here. And the first thing I'm looking for in any kind of like off-roady vehicle is like a grab bar to get up. Since you don't have those side steps here, you have like these rock sliders instead. But you're not finding that on the driver's side of this truck here. You have to like use your steering wheel to jump up, but they do have a grab bar on the passenger side and at the top of the back seats there, but you do not get that as the driver. So it's kind of like hard to get up in here. It's lifted and everything, like I said, so it's like, you don't want to be yanking on your steering wheel every time you need to get up here. So I think that's a little goofy. Just overall, first impressions of this interior here is I really actually like it. Like these parts all over the dash here and these little side parts and on the doors are all really nice, kind of leathery. And it has this yellow stitching, which is super cool. It's very different from like the red accents on the outside of the car. It's awesome. Like, I really like this truck layout. I really like the 11-inch gauge cluster and 11-inch screen right here for your infotainment. I just love that like they're putting the tech in the trucks as well and not just neglecting it all. But we also have this really cool material. It's kind of like almost like a scratchy, I don't even know. It's like a scratchy kind of cool plastic. It's almost like a camo-y kind of color-ish. And that's around your vents and on your dash and on the little tiny cubby on the inside of your door there. But we do have our piano black right here in the middle and just very easy functioning buttons. And the steering wheel is very kind of trucky. It's big, it's bulky, but it looks cool and it fits in here really, really nicely. Overall, this is pretty cool in here. Just a few things on this driver's side here before I jump into the middle. First, we just have our regular like windshield washer wiper stock thing and turn signal stock. Right here, there's a little tiny dial for like the brightness of your infotainment gauge cluster gauge thing. And if we go right under that is your towing controls. But you can hardly even see the little tiny tow logo because they put that in like a dark gray for some reason. I feel like that would be pretty important to know where that is. But if I just talk about the feel of these seats for just a second, these are actually really nice. These are also the AEV brand seats and they're like more rugged. They're not just kind of regular cloth. They have a different feel to them. They have a different look. All kinds of different materials. Like we have the leather and like this material up here, that material right there, this one in the middle, and then it has AEV embroidered in your headrest there. And then right under your feet, you also have AEV floor mats that are like a WeatherTech kind of deal. But those are nice to have as well because you're gonna need that with your muddy feet in your muddy off-road truck. Starting off in the center console here, there is a whole bunch of buttons, but they are very, very simple to use. First off, these dials are like really soft and easy to use. I love the little clicky sounds. But next to that are all of your climate controls, just as buttons, easy. No need to fiddle in the screen, even though you can if you want. They're all there for you. And underneath that, we have some like kind of straight across horizontal vents to kind of blend in with the center console here, rather than our circular vents on the sides over there. Under that, we have some kind of rubberized buttons for some off-roady things and things like that. So this is your rear locking diff button. Next to that is to lock both your front and your rear diff. Then we have the auto start stop kind of button that everybody hates when their car turns on and off when they're just stopped in traffic. So you can actually turn that off. Next to that is the hazards, then your lane keep assist. And of course, next to it is the auxiliary where you can wire in all your accessories that you want. And then this last button right here on the end is actually a button where you can roll all of your windows down at the same time. So you press it down once and they all come down, but you can't do it going back up. The button is not functional when you try to press it up, which is so goofy, but that button is also not auto. You literally have to hold it down while all of your windows go down at the same time. You can't just press it once. That's just funny to me. Underneath that is a USB-C plug-in and a regular USB next to it. And then under that, we have this nice little camo material once again that brings us into our gear selector area. It's just like a regular kind of gear selector here, but it does have a really cute Chevy logo on it. It's really tiny. Next to that, we have like our kind of off-roady modes, as you will. You have like 4 high, 4 low, and 2 high. But what's really cool about that dial is that it has an auto mode, so you can't like accidentally leave it in 4 low or something like that. And then we just have some center storage and things like that, which I will tell you about in just a second because there is quite a bit in here. But first off, I just really gotta say something about this rear view visibility. I think it would be okay if that massive tire was not mounted to the truck bed. It literally takes up most of your rear view mirror. So it's a good thing you have like a little backup camera situation back there, but it is really huge and just in the way. So if we jump into the steering wheel buttons and gauge cluster here, there is a whole lot of different menus that you can do with this thing. But first, this left side of your steering wheel is just like your cruise control things, and there's like a little tiny switch kind of like on the back side of this left side. I think that's for your miles per hour adjustments when you're doing your cruise control. But on the right side are just more of your infotainment things like phone and things like that. But there's this little button right here on the bottom, and that changes all of your different gauge cluster modes. So I'm gonna click that. Right here we're in our basic mode, where it shows your audio on the right and then like your trip stuff. So I click that, takes us to a cooler mode where it's kind of changed up a little bit into the middle. There is your trip thing now. And then you just have a full map view right there with your miles per hour. And this is like a cool kind of different off-roady mode kind of deal. And then this is an extra off-roady mode. Look at that, it shows your pitch and roll and your coordinates and things like that. That's pretty cool. And then we have a different kind of mode right there. I guess it's your lane keep assist kind of right there in the middle. And then just a basic blacked out mode. And then back to your home. That is a whole bunch of different modes right there in the middle, but I'm glad that they're easy to change in between. And then this little switch right here on the back of the right side of your steering wheel is your audio control, so you can turn it up or down using this little switch back here. Now jumping into this infotainment, everything I seem to click just is very responsive and easy to use. Like, look how fast that popped up. That was super, super easy. Everything is big and really easy to see. First, we're on our vehicle status page, which is super cool. It's like a 360 view of the ZR2 here, and there's all these little plus signs. So I'm gonna click one, oil life. Like, it shows you things like in an overview way. Your engine air filter. Right here's your tire pressure, and then brake pads, battery voltage, nice. Like, I like that you can click all the different things in between here. So if we go back home, we have our camera little button right there, and this is actually a 360 view camera, and you have a couple different options on how you want to see it. There's like these two little options right there. We have our front view of the truck here, and if you click it again, it shows you the back view, and it even moves the little camera each way when you click it. That is super cool. Right here is like our side views, our backs, things like that. This right here is our full screen mode, so instead of having like two little split screens, you can just have it all in one. And then if I click next, this is super cute, you guys. It literally has the camera pointing at like where your ball hitch would be when you're trailering, so that you can back up perfect to that. It even has the little camera pointing to it. That's adorable. I think this has pretty good quality cameras. I mean, I love a 360 camera. This is really crisp. So, I mean, I think they did a great job with that. And we have our Alexa built into here again, and our Google Assistant. That's kind of funny. You don't see that too often. We have a trailering mode where you can use guest trailer. I don't know what they consider a guest trailer here, but that was kind of funny to see. Our climate controls are just very basic. You can turn up or down the temperature and basically where you want them. These buttons are much more useful, but it is in the screen if that's something that you want to see. For settings here, we click on vehicle, and there's a couple things in here that's funny. You have teen driver mode, I guess for when you want to hand over the keys to your brand new ZR2 Bison here. But then we also have a buckle to drive mode, and the car will delay your shifting if you do not have that mode on. That's kind of funny and very different. Other than that, we just go to the next screen, and something really, really cool about this truck. So there is an off-road mode like you saw in the gauge cluster there. There's just a couple little menus here if you would rather see them on your infotainment screen rather than your gauge cluster. It shows you your drive modes, your coordinates, your direction, and like your steering angle and things like that. Things that you would need while you're trail riding, especially your pitch and your roll and your PSI. That's really cool to have. And if we go back, we have just the simple things, audio, maps. They use Google Maps for this infotainment here. We have My Chevrolet, where you can create your profile and customize it to what you want to do. What's really cool about the Bison here, you guys, there's an air down mode. You can literally air down all 4 of your tires from your infotainment screen. You just put your target air pressure right there, and the horn will honk when the set target pressure is achieved. That is super, super cool. Something you never ever see. I've never seen it, at least. So it is something that Chevy did, and it really fits the Baja-ness and off-roadness of this truck. Overall, infotainment is easy to use. Each screen is very, very crisp. I mean, I like this truck. I just don't like how much it cost. I think it looks really cool. I think materials are nice. It is still like a little plasticky kind of truck, but I really like all the leather and different kinds of things that they did in here. It's nice. I would totally rock it. Now for storage in the front half of the truck here. First, on this door right here, we have this tiny little cubby that has that same material, the camouflage material in it. Down here at the bottom, we have like almost a bottle holder kind of storage. And then right here underneath this armrest piece is a tiny little bit of storage right there. That's on both of the doors. We move on to the center console. There's, like I said, right here underneath those USB ports, right there's a little bit of storage. We have our 2 actually very big cup holders right there. Moving into the center console storage, you just press this button and lift up. We have a little cubby container here for smaller things. And then we have a very deep, almost to my elbow storage that has a 12-volt plug-in down there. Closing that, our glove box is just a basic glove box. You open it. It's not lined with anything, it's just plastic, but it is very deep. Now, let's jump into these back seats. Now into the back seats here of the ZR2 Bison. This is actually really comfortable. The seats are just as soft as these. It's nice for a back seat area. And just a few things to hit on back here. I mean, I am 5'3", and I fit fine with this seat leaned back just a little bit. Headroom is kind of small, to be honest, but we do not get a center armrest or cup holder thing right here in the middle. And you have a little tiny headrest right here, which is super cute. But I mean, not much going on back here. You do have a little bit of door storage. And if I pop right into this middle storage area, there's 2 cup holders right here behind that center console. Underneath that, you just get a couple plain plastic black vents. Like everything right here is plasticky black. You don't get any of the cool materials from up there in the center console area. And we have a USB-C plug-in and then a regular USB plug-in. Underneath that, we have another 120 volt plug-in. What? That's crazy. You wouldn't even notice that. It's like hidden. It doesn't even have a little logo on it or anything. Right here in front of my knees on the passenger side, you do have a little pocket, but you do not get that on the driver's side. What? Some of these things are just so backwards. And then we have a little light back here if you want to see at nighttime, but this is just really basic back here. other than the fact that you have a little window right behind your head, but it is manual. So you gotta do it yourself. No little button up at the front to control that for you. But I am gonna show you a really cool storage spot right now. And like I mentioned, there is a lot of storage actually underneath these seats. On each side, there is this little plastic lever that you pull up on, and then you can lift up your seat bottoms, and this whole thing underneath is storage where you can put some tools or small things like that, but nevertheless it's there. And to put it back down, since it does kind of lock in place for you, you just pull up on that lever again and it releases, and you have your back seats back where they belong. This thing does not sound like nothing with that little 2.7 liter. You need a nice little gurgly, nasty exhaust on this thing. That's just so funny. Now for my 3 favorite features. 1 has to be like the camera options on this truck. I love the camera that points directly at your ball hitch. That is super, super convenient for backing up and trailering. When you're not taking this thing on the trails, you have a camera that helps you out with that. 2 has to be that air down system for your tires directly in the infotainment screen. You really don't see that too often, and I think that's a really neat feature. 3 has to be like the materials on the inside of the truck. With that AEV material on the seats, they are very different. They feel more rugged and not like just a regular cloth material. I love all the yellow stitching and the leather that they did in there with that little kind of camo material as well. I think it really pulls everything together, and it's just a super cool interior of a truck. For my Riley ranking, I will probably give this a 7.6 out of 10. I do really think that the Bison looks super cool, and it is very off-road capable, especially with the front and rear locking diffs, the already 3-inch lift, the suspension, and those jounce dampers to help you on the trails and things like that. You definitely get a lot for the money, but I just can't really justify like $60,000. I feel like if this was like a 40 kind of, maybe. But the fact that there is so many levels of trim of the Colorado, and that they do start at like $30,000, they're all basically the same truck. You just pay for a little more better looking things like that. So, I mean, it is cool. I like the things that they have done here, but it still is quite expensive. And one more thing before you go, don't forget to subscribe to me so that you can see a lot more cool trucks like this in the future. And if you thought this was cool, you have got to go check out the others that I have reviewed. And then we have that nice kind of, infotainment gauge cluster gauge thing. There is a tow mode button kind of setting thing. Where, I don't know what to say. I don't know how else to elaborate that. some shock absorption, rock kind of, what are they called?